My name is David Lamb. I'm the chair of the Department of Economics. I've been a faculty member here for 30 years, but it's my first year as chair, and it's a great privilege to be here. Graduates, parents, grandparents, siblings, other family members, and friends, it's a great honor to salute you at this convocation for the Masters in Applied Economics and PhD graduates of the Department of Economics at the University of Michigan. Welcome to those of you in this room and to those of you watching live on the internet. We have graduates today from many countries, including China, Hungary, India, Indonesia, Japan, Korea, Mexico, Russia, South Africa, Turkey, others I'm sure that I've missed. Welcome to all the family and friends who've come to Ann Arbor for this event, some of you from very far away, and welcome to friends and family who are joining us remotely. With technology, we're able to make this a truly global event. If you are watching this from far away, please put a post on our Facebook page and tell us where you're watching from. So greetings to all of you out there. I'm finishing my first year as chair of this very fine economics department, filling shoes that have been filled by some very distinguished economists in the 135-year history of the department. And today is truly the high point of the academic calendar. We work very hard all year long, teaching classes, having faculty meetings, having staff meetings, grading exams, reading papers, meeting with our graduate student advisees, helping them through the job market process, doing all the things that it takes to run a big department like this. And in many ways, today is really the culmination of all of that hard work that goes on all year long. It's really a privilege to stand here today to share this very proud and happy occasion and to represent our department at this event. This morning, I went over to the Rackham commencement event. I'm sure most of you were there. And walking back over was, just really the high point. Makes you think this is why we do this. Walking across campus, there were all kinds of students out in their gowns taking pictures of each other out in the middle of the diag by the M. Families walking along together. I heard 4 or 5 languages just in the 5 minutes I was walking through the diag. It's really a great moment, and it's a wonder to have such a beautiful day today, and very appropriate for this great occasion. It really is the highlight of the year. We're very proud of our graduate programs in this department. Our Masters in Applied Economics program has grown into a really outstanding program, attracting excellent students from diverse backgrounds from all over the world. Graduates of the program have gone on into a wide range of positions, government agencies, central banks, many private sector positions, on to further graduate study. It's really impressive to see what students of our MAE program have gone on to do and what those in this year's graduating class are going to go on to do. Our PhD program is one of the top doctoral programs in the world. We attract a fantastic group of students. We put them through a demanding set of required courses, field courses, years spent writing outstanding dissertations that they use all the tools that we've given them. And this year, we once again have a fantastic group. As we have for at least 20 years, once again, we have a 100% placement record for our PhD students, a really remarkable accomplishment. 21 students this year, a typical number for us, often having 20, 25, 30 students that we place out in a wide variety of positions in academia, in government, in the private sector. There's a Michigan brand that we think of that our graduate students take out into the world, and it's a brand that is highly valued, as reflected by the great success we have in placing our students. The Michigan Economics Department has a long tradition of applying rigorous economic tools to real questions of great importance for business, for individuals, for institutions, for governments, policymakers. The Michigan style of economic analysis stresses both theoretical reasoning and careful, rigorous quantitative analysis, without losing sight of the need for economics to speak to what is happening in the real world. This focus on careful state-of-the-art economic analysis to important policy issues is one of the reasons why our students do well in the job market. Shortly after becoming chair last summer, I got a call from a reporter at Bloomberg News who had been analyzing the economists at the Federal Reserve Board of Governors and discovered that the University of Michigan has the most PhD economists at the Fed Board of Governors. And he wanted to know if I knew that and why did I think that was. And I said, well, I don't know it, but I'm not shocked. We do send a lot of our students to the Fed Board of Governors, including several again this year. I told him that we get fantastic students. I think we do add value along the program. We give them great skills in careful, rigorous, applied economic analysis of exactly the kind that the Fed values. And it's not just the Fed. We have a number of our PhDs this year will be going to Washington. When they get there, if they don't already know it, there's Michigan PhDs all over the place. It's always very easy to put together a Michigan economics PhD party in Washington. They're at the Fed, they're in the Congressional Budget Office, they're at the Urban Institute, the Census Bureau, the World Bank, Treasury, Bureau of Labor Statistics. We send a lot of economists to Washington in very high positions, and it's something we're very proud of. We also send our PhD economists to similar agencies all over the world, in central banks, in government agencies, and important policy positions. And of course, we send many into academia in the US and abroad, where they make major contributions in economic research while teaching the next generation of economists. This morning you heard, if you were over in Rackham, in the Hill Auditorium at the Rackham Commencement, you heard from Robert Schiller. He was an undergraduate economics graduate from Michigan in 1967. We're very proud of him as one of our great undergrad alums. As you know, he went on to win the Nobel Prize in Economics in 2013, a professor at Yale, famous for the Case-Shiller Index of Home Prices and for being one of the very few economists to argue in the mid-2000s that there really were bubbles in the housing and financial markets that could lead to a financial crisis. As you know, he's one of this year's recipients of an honorary degree from the University of Michigan, and he'll be on the stage at the Big House tomorrow. I wanted to comment on Schiller's address this morning because I thought it was very inspiring and very appropriate for a graduate commencement. To briefly paraphrase it for those who weren't there, he emphasized that graduate training at the master's level and especially at the PhD level really gives you a great deal of specialization. In a sense, it takes you deep but narrow. You become one of the leading experts in your field of study. And economics training, like training in any field, in a sense, at the undergraduate level, we go broad. We give you a lot of training, not just in economics, but other fields, give you a broad liberal arts training. And at the graduate level, in a sense, you go narrow. And Schiller's challenge, I would describe as, now that you're done, don't stay narrow. Use these skills, do great work in the field that you've specialized in. Of course, that's what you're there to do. But go broad again. Think about other fields, connect to other fields, think about even the subfields within economics. I thought it was great advice, and I encourage you to take it, and it's great to have the economics department featured so prominently at this great event. You should be very proud of having reached this milestone, whether you're completing a MAE or a PhD. As you all learned, graduate school is very different than your undergraduate studies. It requires not only a higher level of academic achievement, but a degree of individual motivation and perseverance and productivity that goes far beyond what it took to succeed as an undergrad. You should be very proud of having gotten to this stage. And of course, you all have impressive accomplishments ahead of you, and we will proudly watch you and follow you as you proceed, and we hope that you will keep in touch. I'd like to salute all the family members, the spouses, the partners, the parents, the friends who've supported all of these graduates, and thanks to all of you who are here and those of you who may be watching remotely. In many cases, you may have been supporting them for more years than you expected when they started. And I know from my own personal experience that they wouldn't, many of them at least, would not have made it without your strong support. So a salute to all of you as you share in the glory of this celebration today. Michigan economics students at all levels are a wonderfully diverse group of bright, motivated students who are willing to work hard. Economics is a challenging field, a demanding field, and for those very reasons, a very exciting field that we, of course, believe makes important contributions to the world. It's wonderful to have you and get to know you, and we keep fond memories of all of our students. One of the great joys of being a professor is the interaction with successive generations of students that help keep us young. And we love it when you stay in touch, and we hope that you will keep us updated about how your lives are going. These graduates today are undertaking an impressive array of future paths. We'll be hearing about a number of the things that they'll be doing as we proceed. I will say a few more words later, thanking some of the important people participating in this event. But let me now turn it over to Mel Steffens. Mel is a professor of economics who has been director of graduate studies, doing a fantastic job this year directing our PhD program.
All right, thank you very much. Excuse me. Echoing David, I'd like to thank all the family members and friends who decided to fly into Ann Arbor, drive 100 miles or so, or just walk a few blocks to be here to celebrate this occasion today. We certainly appreciate the fact that you've been able to join us here today, and I know that everyone here who's going to walk across the stage also appreciates your presence. Listening to David speak, I realized that I could just say ditto and go from there, because he said an awful lot of things I'd like to say. Thank you, David. But I also like to talk a little bit about the graduate program in economics, and in particular the PhD program, for a few moments, because it's kind of a rather odd process getting a PhD, right? So to get into graduate school, you've obviously did very well in undergraduate, right? So you're very smart. We have a lot of very smart people here today. That's fantastic. They also work really hard, right? They're working really hard as undergraduates, and they probably even worked for professors as an undergraduate, maybe even for free, hoping that they would write them a fantastic letter of recommendation, which many of you received. That's, again, why you're here today. And all those great traits translated very well into the first couple of years of graduate school, because in the first couple of years of graduate school, you just take classes, and you've taken classes since you were 5, or maybe even 3 or 2 or 1, right? So that was a culmination of everything that you've done. And then, like, everything comes to a screeching halt, right? You're done taking classes, and so you don't have class anymore. You have nothing to get you up early in the morning, no 8:30 class that says, hey, I've got to get out and work on my dissertation. You don't have any assignments, so nothing that deters you from watching television until 2 or 3 in the morning. And you don't have any term papers, so you don't have to learn things like new programming languages over a weekend to meet a deadline. Instead, you get a couple of things, right? One thing that you get is you get a teaching assignment, which is fantastic, right? So you're you're responsible for 70, 18 to 19-year-olds, right, who do all kinds of fun things, like send you emails in the middle of the night, and then are really bothered by the fact that you can't respond to their email within 15 minutes, right? Or they do things like not come to class the entire semester. They show up the day before the final exam and say, hey, you know what, if I fail this class, I get kicked out of the university, my parents will disown me, and it's your responsibility to spend your entire afternoon and evening telling me everything I would have learned had I gone to class this entire semester. Right, so you get that, that's awesome. What you also get is a dissertation to complete, right, which is something that you'll know what you're in for, right? Here, finish the dissertation, that's it. I used to teach at Carnegie Mellon for a few years, and they had this requirement for finishing papers, which was called, structuring an unstructured problem, right? So, like, what is that? I don't know. I still don't know. I was there for 9 years. I don't know what structuring an unstructured problem is, and even the people that were there from the inception of the school had no idea what it is. But I think that kind of describes what a dissertation actually is, right? You got this problem, you've got to figure it out. It's unstructured. Hopefully you go into new areas and you pull together, based on your training of those courses you took those first couple of years, and you structure a problem. And then you again, rely on the things that got you into graduate school, right? Inherent smarts. Again, everyone finishing the day is very smart, works really hard. And again, you worked hard possibly for a professor, maybe for free, hoping they'd write you a great letter of recommendation on the job market. And as David mentioned, with all the success of our PhD students on the job market, that's all paid off, right? And then you had a few obstacles to overcome. Challenges that typically affect people finishing their dissertation, things like coming up with a viable thesis idea. That's usually not an easy thing to do. Or perhaps you had to acquire data from some foreign statistical agency that had only hard copies in the basement of some nondescript Soviet-era building, and they don't understand why you need this data right now. Or you had to fight off the temptation to find the end of the internet, right? And the thing I just want to quickly say is that we always knew that you could do this, right? I mean, we get 800 applicants for our PhD program every year, and we have less than 30 slots. So we have a fantastic group of people coming in. We'd love to believe that it's all our value added while you're going places, but we know that you came with fantastic raw material. And like I said, we've always been fairly confident that you would succeed. So the faculty here are very impressed with you. You should be very impressed with yourselves, not in a narcissistic way, but like in a very proud way, right? Very proud of yourselves. I'm sure that as we are very proud, your friends and family are very proud of you. And I'd just like to say congratulations to everyone. And I'll get to the good stuff now, which is calling some names. Okay, so very good. All right, so the first person, so let me just quickly explain what we're going to do, is that we are going to invite each PhD recipient to the stage. We're going to have members of the dissertation committee come up. One member will speak very briefly about them. I emphasize brief. I was practicing myself earlier today because I have to speak as well, so I know brief is tough. But in any event. So first, Reed Dorsey Palmetier. Reed's dissertation chair is Ryan Kellogg. Reed, come up. And also on this committee are Thomas Lyon, Dan Ackerberg, Jeremy Fox, and Sean McCrae. And I don't know if you want to stand over here, or is
sure,
this?
I can come over there. I guess I'm sitting there. Or sit or something.
Yes, you are.
Right, I'll just use the mic. Yes. All right, yeah, so it's my honor to be Reed's dissertation chair. I had the privilege of advising a number of students in environmental economics and industrial organization this year. Reed did some really fantastic work studying electricity markets, and in particular thinking about the economics of wind generation, both its cost and the benefits, and sort of how do we think. And sort of Reed's work does a fantastic job of telling us how we should really think about the economics of how new wind turbines displace emissions from fossil fuel generators. He's doing excellent follow-up work on retail electricity markets. Reed's going to be taking a position as an assistant professor at Western Washington University. Congratulations to Reed. Thank you.
Next, we have Ann Fitzpatrick. Her dissertation was chaired by Jeff Smith and Rebecca Thornton, also Ach Adaharvu and Steve Salant on her committee. And speaking today is going to be David Lamb.
I meant to mention in my comments that we have had people describe our PhD program advising as the "it takes a village" approach, that we tend to have our students work with many faculty, and we all work together, and Ann is one of those people. So I wasn't actually on her committee, but I got to know her very well. She worked for me for a while, and is great working with her. Ann is the first of several that you'll hear about who did very interesting experimental field work in Africa. She worked in Uganda, testing to see if patients have better information when they go into the pharmacy, if they get treated differently, if they get a different price, if they get better quality medicine. Very interesting randomized experiment that she did, building on a long set of ground that she laid to do it. She did very good work, and she's heading to the Department of Economics at the University of Massachusetts, Boston. So congratulations to Anne.
Aaron Flan is dissertation chaired by Andrei Levchenko, also Kyle Hanley, Matthew Shapiro, and Linda Tizar.
So thanks. I'm glad to represent Andre, who is on leave. Aaron's written a terrific dissertation in the quintessential University of Michigan tradition, a great question, how are shocks transmitted across countries, a great insight on how to identify it, collapse of output in Japan because of an earthquake, a terrific data infrastructure put together from scratch on multinational ownership, which also in the Michigan tradition he's going to make available for other researchers. And finally, putting it all together in both structural, econometric, and modeling analysis. So congratulations on a great thesis. Good luck as you head off to the Federal Reserve Board in another great Michigan tradition.
Rob Gilizzo. Rob's committee is comprised of Martha Bailey, chair, Paul Rohde, Robert Mickey, and Roger Runachalam.
Okay, so it's a pleasure to see Rob graduate. As many of you know, he did not take a typical path through graduate school, and I mean that is the highest praise. After completing his coursework in an excellent third-year paper, he took a bit of a detour and transitioned into the leadership of the University of Michigan Labor Union, eventually becoming its president. And then he took a job as the lead economist for the New Democratic Party in the Canadian government, where he was dubbed very recently as the party's wunderkind. When I was in Canada recently, he got a lot of praise from some economists for being someone to bring intellectual rigor to that job. It's typically dominated by a lot of people with degrees in policy, and Rob has the training of an economist, so lots of praise there. And if you have the opportunity to talk with Rob, you'll likely be dazzled by his incredible command of public policy, history, and his ability to read the academic literature, which I think is a very rare combination of skills. He dazzled me on our walk home last fall by quoting a lot of his knowledge on the benefits of public policy, which he gained by reading the literature. He has the quantitative chops to do that. And also his knowledge of the costs coming from his experience in government. So I know that all of these skills, these different things will be incredibly valuable to his research moving forward, and also to, I think, his continued involvement in government if he chooses to pursue that path. His dissertation reflects much of his earlier career and his interest in economic history. His first paper is on the U.S. race riots in the 1960s and the role of federal funding in sort of reducing the impact of those riots. A second one provides a new quantitative history of labor unions in the United States, and a third is on the African slave trade. So Rob has accepted a position as an assistant professor beginning after the election this fall in Canada, which he will also be a part, at the University of Victoria in the Department of Economics. Congratulations, Rob. We wish you the best.
Next is Evan Hernstadt. Evan's dissertation chair is Ryan Kellogg, also Catherine Hausman, Jeremy Fox, and Eric Muhleger.
So I met Evan, it's probably, I guess, 6 years or so ago now, when Evan was a prospective graduate student visiting the University of Michigan and trying to decide whether to come here or to some other schools that he probably shouldn't have gone to. And I remember our first conversation, well, we spent about an hour at Espresso Royale, sort of right over there, a few steps away, where I don't remember exactly what I said, but I spent a lot of time trying to convince him that he should come here, and he did, and I'm remarkably glad that he did. It's been a privilege chairing Evan's dissertation committee these past several years. He's written a number of wonderful essays in environmental economics, energy economics, industrial organization. His job market paper looked at environmental restrictions and timber auctions here in Michigan. He's doing work joint with me on oil and gas leasing. He's doing other work related to highway congestion. He's written a number of wonderful papers. Looking forward to hearing more from him. Evan is moving on from here to do a postdoc at Harvard University, sitting at the Department of Economics. Congratulations.
Next is Jonathan Hershaff. Jonathan's dissertation chair is Brian Jacob, also Sue Donarski, Jim Hines, and Jeff Smith.
Hello, it's my pleasure to be here today. I met John many years ago when he started the program. I've worked with him actively since, first as a research assistant for me, where he did much great work and saved me many, many hours, and then advising him when he did his own work. His dissertation is on the intersection of higher education and consumer finance. He's written a few really interesting essays focusing on this topic. One was looking at the change in the student loan market as it went from kind of a privately operated organization to kind of direct government loans, and showing how that reduced student default rate, and using this to speak more broadly about kind of moral hazard in lending and the role of the lenders themselves in being able to reduce default rates. He is starting a position at the Securities and Exchange Commission in Manhattan, and he'll be able to kind of merge his interest in finance and the private sector with some really fascinating research opportunities going forward. I wish him the best of luck, and I hope to keep in touch.
Next is Jason Kerwin. Jason's committee chairs are Jeff Smith, Rebecca Thornton, also John DiNardo, and David Lamb will be speaking.
Jason has done a very interesting dissertation. Jason is another one of our students who's spent a lot of time in Africa doing field work. Again, some very creative randomized field experiments. He did a very interesting experiment looking at whether you can overdo it in trying to tell people what the risk is of contracting HIV from having unprotected sex. The argument is if you tell them too high, then they become fatalistic and assume that they're probably already HIV positive or there's no hope. And he found from randomizing information that in fact that can be the case, and that it's better to kind of tell the truth. That was a very interesting study that he did that had some very nice theory to go with it, and very interesting econometrics. He also did another very interesting project with our colleague Rebecca Thornton in Uganda on a new method of teaching reading to in a multilingual setting where the home language differs from English, and a very interesting, again, randomized trial with very interesting results about what works and what doesn't in that setting. So he spent a lot of time and has done a very good job of combining kind of real rigorous analysis without spending time out in some very remote areas of Africa doing field work. Jason is going to the University of Minnesota to join the Department of Applied Economics, where he's going to have a number of former Michigan grads to hang out with. Congratulations, Jason.
Next is June Kim. June's committee is chaired by Martha Bailey, Edward Norton, also Luke Schaefer, Charlie Brown, and Jeff Smith.
So I actually got to know June fairly late in the game. It was just last year around this time when we started talking very intensively. And that's because after finishing her coursework, June actively pursued her interests in all sorts of other disciplines across campus. So she worked in the School of Public Policy with Sheldon Danziger, the School of Social Work with Luke Schaefer. One chapter of her dissertation is co-authored with him. And then also with Edward Norton in the School of Public Health, who's also her co-chair and I know would love to be here today if he could. The resulting dissertation is a fascinating combination of these different perspectives and also sort of the rigor of labor economics that we do here in the department. Her job market paper uses a survey of income and program participation to look at the effect of what are very understudied exemptions to work requirements as part of modern welfare programs. And she finds that these exemptions matter in ways that are not only important in the short term to women's labor force participation, but I think more fascinating, have long-term implications for their involvement in the labor force. So I know that Edward would join me and also the rest of her committee in wishing June the best if he could be here as a new assistant professor in the Department of Economics at the University of Indiana, Purdue, Fort Wayne. Congratulations, June.
Justin Ladner. Justin's committee chairs Dean Young, also Brian Jacob, Charlie Brown, and J.J. Prescott.
I'm very happy to be standing in for Dean and to be able to say a few words about Justin. I met Justin a few years ago when he came into my office. He was interested in crime and in studying crime, as I later found out, not committing it. I had happened to write a paper about this early in my career, and I guess that's how he found me. I'm glad he did. His dissertation is on environmental determinants of crime, and in particular, he's looking at the relationship between weather, kind of crowd density, and crime. And this is a kind of a fascinating topic. This is something that criminologists and psychologists have studied for years, the fact that when it's hot outside, people seem to commit more crimes. I think Justin came at this with an economics hat on and tried to really unpack what was going on underlying this relationship, and kind of was able to ascertain that there was a component of it that was based on expectations about the weather today and then the weather tomorrow, and it was also affected by different shocks, how weather today differed from weather tomorrow, and it's a really nice model that puts this all together and some interesting findings. He is taking a job at CNA, where he will continue to be able to do some great economic research, and I wish him the very best going forward.
Next we have Chang Kyun, or C.K. Lee. Paul Verdi is the chair, Josh Hausman, Francine LaFontaine, and Maggie Levenstein are on the committee as well.
So it is a great honor to be up here speaking about CK's research with a committee that's very broad. So Maggie, Josh Hausman, and Francine LaFontaine have all contributed to his work, which is in economic history but bridges into business economics, labor, the studies of industrial dynamics in the Great Depression era. Now, it combines archival research, so a lot of people have talked about using this data or creating this data. They've done it badly or they have not done it at all. I've actually been in the archives on a trip and seen CK there collecting the data. So mission accomplished there. And then empirical work showing creative destruction in the automobile industry, and then he's subsequently going to look at the textile industry in the 20th century. So it is just a great pleasure to wish him a happy future at the Korean Development Institute. And I, again, hope he stays in touch. And so.
Eric Lewis. Ryan Kellogg is the chair of Eric's committee. Also Michael Moore, Dan Ackerberg, Sean McRae, and Steve Salon.
So Eric works on a subject near and dear to my heart, oil and gas exploration, and his dissertation finds really all manner of interesting things that are going on in this sector in Wyoming. So if you're out there and you think Wyoming's this place where nothing interesting ever happens, Eric's dissertation is the one that will sort of disabuse you of that notion. So it turns out you get a lot of really rich and interesting economic behavior when you have the federal government, the state government, and private landowners all right next to each other and all leasing their land to oil and gas firms to drill for and explore for oil and gas. And it turns out Eric finds all this really interesting behavior, such as when the federal government imposes environmental restrictions on their land, the state land is right next door, and sort of the drilling you think would happen over here doesn't go away, it just sort of moves over here. And you get some rebound back and forth, you get lots of rich, interesting spatial interactions between these different types of agents. And Eric's dissertation is really the first to sort of think about, both in terms of theory and empirics, how those interactions take place. It's been wonderful advising Eric's work. I look forward to continuing to work with him on some joint projects going forward, and Eric's headed to the Department of Justice in the Economic Analysis Group of the Antitrust Division.
Olga Malkova. Olga's committee is chaired by Martha Bailey, also Charlie Brown, John DiNardo, and David Lamb.
So Olga is one of the students that I have known since before she started our program at the University of Michigan. We met the summer she was entering, and I've known her over the entire arc of her career. That was something very exciting for me. Now, when she came, I'll tell you, and I don't want anyone to feel bad about this, but Olga actually knew what her dissertation was going to be about before she even started. She came up with all of those ideas in the summer before she started. Now, she didn't have the theoretical or econometric tools, or in fact, even the data at that point to implement this, but she spent the next 3 years acquiring those, and I'd say it's developed a very sophisticated dissertation out of it. And so if you know Olga, you'll know that she's extremely understated. And in fact, so I wanted to take this opportunity to brag on her behalf for a few of her achievements, because I know that you will never hear them from Olga. I'm sorry, I'm going to embarrass you now. So in my letter for Olga, I described her as an intellectual powerhouse of expertise, and I say that quite sincerely. So her dissertation uses sort of the best theoretical, econometric, and data collection methods, so the historical methods of shoe leather to go and get the stuff you need to answer the hard questions that are really important. Her job market paper is about the open question of whether actually paying women to have more children in a lot of economies of the world where we have very low fertility rates is effective. And the first thing she shows it, using economic theory, is that it's not a foregone conclusion that these policies should raise childbearing at all. She then goes and collects data, and when Mel was referring to the basement of former Soviet archives, that's where Olga collected the data for her dissertation. So that's Olga. Because she also speaks fluent Russian. So she went and collected it, translated it, encoded it, and then comes back and uses the very serious applied econometric methods. She's one of the rare students at Michigan who gets the designation of applied econometrics on her CV, because she also passed the very difficult and selective econometric theory field exam. Okay, just a few things more. It's unusual for our students to win an international award before they finish at the University of Michigan, but Olga has won 2. In the year she was coming out on the market, Olga won the Heinz Koenig Young Scholar Award for Outstanding Empirical Work by a young scholar from the ZEW. and the International Institute of Public Finance Young Economist Award at the 70th Annual Congress. When I go to Europe, everyone comments on Olga, so it's really nice. She's also won the Gail Wilensky Fellowship from our Department for Outstanding Work in Health Economist, and I'm going to say something today, it's top secret. In a few hours, her dissertation has been selected by the Population Association of America Award, which, by the way, is not just an award for economists or young economists. It's for sociologists, epidemiologists, public health, people who work in medicine. This is a huge association across disciplines, and she has won, her dissertation has won the prestigious Dorothy Thomas Award for the best paper by any student in discipline. Now, she's skipping that to join us here today at commencement, so I had to make sure I mentioned it to her so she could have her moment. So I'm very proud of Olga, and I'm also delighted that she's found a job at the University of Kentucky Department of Economics, where she'll be starting as an assistant professor in the fall. So congratulations, Olga.
Tanya Abnam. Committee chair is John Leitner. Also John Bound and Matthew Shapiro.
So I'm John Leitner. I'm delighted to be here. Tong is another excellent Michigan student. His dissertation is covering the effects of local property markets. So he's talking about the level and variability of property market prices locally and how they affect household portfolio choices between risky and non-risky assets. So it's a very timely topic in one of the Michigan traditions. It has a theory section talking about portfolio behavior and so on, and then it has an empirical section estimating parameters. So it's a very nice piece of work. I think one of the things that sticks in my mind about Tong, in the last few months when he was on the job market, I got a call from a woman in Washington who'd interviewed him, and she is setting up a small group in the Office of Comptroller to do special analysis, and she rattled off a long list of things that she wanted to hire someone to do, and they included microeconomic modeling, macroeconomic modeling, data collection, data analysis, self-directed research, administrative tasks, and so on. And what did I think? And what I thought was that this is an exceptionally long list of things to ask somebody to do when they're starting out, but I could congratulate her on having identified a candidate who could do all these things and do them well, because Tong has an extremely varied background, and partly because, I must say, the breadth of the Michigan program, but also because of what he did before he came here, both undergraduate, and he had a master's from Columbia. So he's done a great dissertation. The woman offered him a job and he took it, and so I congratulate him on that, and I, of course, wish him all the best for a long and prosperous career.
Yulia Paramanova. Chair is Joel Slumrod, also Uday Rajan, Tillman Borgers, and Jim Hines.
It's a pleasure to be standing next to Yulia. I remember very vividly the first time I met her 4 or 5 years ago. Two things she said have stuck in my mind since then. One is that she's from Siberia, and the second is that she wanted to work on theoretical analysis of optimal tax enforcement. And Yulia, like we heard about Olga before, is one of the rare students who stuck to that initial vision throughout. And her dissertation is 3 essays in optimal tax enforcement theory with 2 themes. One is the appropriate mix of a tax authority between audits, one tool of enforcement, and information reporting, like employers send to the IRS about the income of their employees. And the other theme is the appropriate use of what are called collateral sanctions, such as if you don't pay taxes you owe, we'll take away your driver's license. And I think it's fair to say that Olga is now the world expert in this aspect of tax enforcement theory, and I look forward to her making other contributions in tax policy in the future. Yulia is off to the Higher School of Economics in St. Petersburg. That's St. Petersburg, Russia, not St. Petersburg, Florida. And I hope to visit her there someday. It's not Siberia, but it's close.
Ryoko Sato. Dissertation chairs are David Lamb and Rebecca Thornton, also Edward Norton and Raja Chunalanam.
Well, it's a great pleasure to talk about Ryoko. Ryoko has been a real pleasure to work with. She's another of the students who's been off doing field work, doing randomized experiments in Africa. Ryoko, from the time she came, was very interested in health issues in Africa. She'd already spent some time in rural Nigeria, and she's particularly interested in issues such as why don't more women get vaccinated in these areas, given that the cost of vaccines is quite low. They're known to be extremely efficacious. Enormous progress could be done in eradicating disease if there were higher vaccination rates. So one of the things she did was to go into rural Nigeria and conduct her own experiment that she designed in order to see one particular possibility is that women have some fear of being vaccinated, that it might be, they might just have a fear of getting shots, or they might have some fear that it's going to cause something to happen to them. There are always these rumors that go around. So she had a very interesting design in which she gave randomized subsidies to get women to go to the clinic, and then some who got to the clinic got an additional subsidy to actually get the vaccine. And what she found was that if you got women to the clinic, they pretty much all got the vaccine, of something like 95%. A very important result, because it showed that this pretty widely held view that there's some fear of getting vaccinated is actually not the problem. It seems to be much more about access to clinics and getting women to the clinics. Ryoko, her paper on this is extremely nice. She does a very nice presentation. Rebecca Thornton and I are always telling her she completely undersells the fact that she completely designed it herself, but she also spent an enormous amount of time out in some of the most dangerous areas in rural Nigeria carrying out this study. And we always told her when she was giving a seminar, if somebody says, why didn't you go back and do a follow-up, or why didn't you get 1,000 more observations? She actually got evacuated from this area because of Boko Haram. And anyway, she doesn't overstate it, but it's quite an impressive story and shows her dedication to the topic and her dedication to the field. She's off to do a very interesting postdoc at the National University of Singapore that's going to allow her to continue to work on the economics of health. So congratulations to Ryoko.
Next is Desmond Toohey. Dissertation chair is, it's me. Jeff Smith, John Bound, and Kevin Stang. I think everybody else is away. All right, so, sorry, had a lot to remember to say today. Anyway, so Desmond came to the University of Michigan from another University of Maryland, go Terps, and so I went there as well. After a short stint at the Urban Institute, I first met Desmond in his, I think, 3rd year when he became a pre-doctoral fellow at the Population Studies Center, and we've been working on projects ever since. Desmond's dissertation focuses on unemployment, unemployment insurance, and various aspects related. His job market paper focuses on a very interesting aspect. So over recent years, states have tried to increase their requirements for getting unemployment insurance, right? And the idea is that if we just make these people look harder, they will find jobs more quickly, and then we'll save states more money because they won't have as many people unemployed. Of course, you think about it for a moment, from an economics point of view, if you have all these people looking for jobs, doesn't mean there's going to be jobs for all of them to find, right? And so, in fact, Desmond finds, through pulling together a number of data resources, that indeed these job search requirements make people look harder, but yet they do not find any reduction in the amount of time people spend unemployed, which actually comes in contrast to a lot of small-scale experiments that have been done where they do find that increasing job search requirements reduces unemployment because, again, the small-scale experiments are just looking at a host of maybe 1,500 or 2,000 individuals, right? So the partial versus general equilibrium. Desmond then uses some of these results and insights to develop a theoretical model which allows him to test between different market mechanisms for job search. Desmond is off to University of Delaware, the Fighting Blue Hens, close to Maryland, fantastic, and Joe Biden pretty soon, I suppose. So congratulations. And last but not least, James Wong. James's dissertation chair is Francine LaFontaine, also Dan Ackerberg, Ing Fan, and Ryan Kellogg.
It's my privilege to speak briefly about James in place of his dissertation chair, Francine LaFontaine, who's in DC and could not be here today, unfortunately. James's dissertation looks at the consumer credit market in China. It's a very entrepreneurial dissertation. James was able to get a credit company in China to basically give him all of their data. And I mean all of their data. So he knows every loan they made. He knows the terms of the loan. He knows everything about the application of every borrower down to photographs. He knows every payment that was made or not made. James observes all this, and he knows the loan officer who judged every application. And James used these data to look at a bunch of interesting aspects of the credit market, both from the perspective of the borrowers and from the lender itself and from the individual loan officers. James's dissertation is basically 3 papers that revolve around this market and these data, all looking at these different aspects. I'll just briefly mention the job paper, the very first paper, which I like to think of as the paper that tells us that man really can beat the machine, that the dissertation basically tells us that individual loan officers actually add real value in evaluating these loans, more than just sort of a simple mechanistic credit score mechanism would, even though loan officers might have behavioral biases and risk aversion and things like that, they still add lots of value. It's a really nice piece of work, and James is going on to Washington, D.C. to further cement Michigan's stranglehold over the Federal Reserve Board.
Can we get one more round of applause for our PhD graduates?
Congratulations to all the PhD recipients. And now we're going to have John Leitner, who's the director of our Masters in Applied Economics program.
Okay, well, I'm John Leitner. I'm the director of the MAE, the Master of Applied Economics program. We have about 45 master's candidates entering each year. Now, the program allows some flexibility, so you can either usually finish it in 3 semesters or 4. And so some have already graduated in December. But we have about 30 students finishing this spring. The master's program of applied economics has actually been around for a long time at University of Michigan. For most of its history, it was a pretty small specialized program. It mainly catered to economists at central banks around the world. And as I say, the program was fairly small. In the last 5 to 10 years, we've expanded it quite a bit. I would say now we continue to have the original clientele, but we have a lot more students and they have a lot more interests. I would say one of its great strengths is that given the size of University of Michigan, there's many opportunities on campus. There's many excellent parts of the University of Michigan, and I think the master's students do a great job of taking advantage of that. So we have a core of courses in the economics department, but then there's a lot of latitude for selecting other courses that students feel are most appropriate for what they want to do. And most of the students, by the end, have taken courses over in the Ross School of Business, the Ford School of Public Policy, and a lot of students have taken courses much more broadly than that in math department, stat department, School of Public Health, etc. So it has a very interdisciplinary nature nowadays. And among the 30 students that are graduating now, this shows up in that I can count about 10 that are taking not one but 2 master's degrees now. And so we have 3 who are taking a joint master's in economics plus applied statistics, and 4 who are doing economics plus School of Natural Resources. And then we have 1 each for economics and the Ross School of Business and the Ford School of Public Policy, and 1 from engineering, material sciences. So it's very interdisciplinary. I think it makes good use of the size and breadth of University of Michigan in doing that. Well, today we're going to read through the list of students who are here to graduate. But before I do that, I wanted to make 2 other remarks. One is we have the president of the class that's now graduating, Stefanos Provilangiadis. I'm used to calling him Stefanos, so the last name is a challenge. But so Stefanos has done a great job. He was elected president of the class. He helped organize social events, seminars. He arranged for a group of students to go down to the city of Detroit for Habitat for Humanity. I think he's done a great job to enhance the experience of the students here. Maybe we could stop and have an applause for Stefanos. And my second remark is even briefer, which is I want to urge the MAEs as they leave to stay in touch. So we had a little survey and not everybody filled it out, but there's still time. So you can catch Vinny at the Foster Library this afternoon and fill that out. We're particularly interested in your forwarding address. So as I said, the program is changing, it's getting bigger, and I think it could be mutually advantageous for us to stay in touch with you and vice versa. We'd like to build a network here, and I really hope you'll do that. Michigan's a great place. I'm proud of you, and I hope you'll stay in touch both to help us and that we can help you through the network. So, speaking for myself, as a professor of macroeconomic theory, I think I've had probably every one of the master's students in a class, and they are excellent students. I've enjoyed it. They come from varied backgrounds. The program is highly selective, and I've enjoyed teaching in it, and as I say, they're excellent students. I congratulate them on finishing the program and wish them all the best. So what I'd like to do to finish up is we'd like to have them come forward, and maybe they'll hand their little card to me, I think. That's great. And I'd like to call their names and have them come up and receive their certificate from David. So, first one up here does not fill out the, but this is Hale Gondas. Congratulations. Wow, it's a good thing I brought the thing here. Emily Ann Chickson Saffron. Congratulations. Okay. So this is Tomoya Sakiata. Congratulations. Okay, Benyapon Shantana. Deis Omrayev. So, Jennifer Wu. Chengfeng Zhang. Joel Kramer. Halil Kojagos. Saban Toros. Zhao Yu Zhao.
Thank you.
Han Yu Chan. Yingru Chen. Su-Ting Wang. Wanling Li. Yichen Wang. Mohammed Jishan Suleiman. Rashmi Joshi.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Zhaozheng Shen. Yijunin Liu. Shi Wu. Xijin Wang. Lishan Wen. And Stefanos. Nobody likes Giatis. Okay, as I said, I've had them all, and they're excellent students. I wish them all the best.
Great. Well, it's wonderful to see all of these graduate students reach this point in their career and walk across the stage. A very proud moment for all of us, and really, as I said, the high point of the academic calendar. I want to thank John Leitner for doing a great job directing the MAE program, Mel Steffens for doing a great job directing the PhD program. And I want to thank our team that helped put together this event today, but that's just sort of a drop in the bucket compared to, not to say that it was a small thing, it's a very big thing, compared to the whole incredible work that they do throughout the year. So we have an amazing student services team. Lauren Poulet is the head of student services. Laura Flack is our brand new PhD program coordinator. Vinnie Vinjamore has been coordinator of the MAE program and also coordinator of PA of the PhD placement. So she gets to know all of these students extremely well. Olga Mustata also helps. She's coordinator of the undergraduate program, but she's a key member of the team. Also want to acknowledge Rhonda Abrigo and Lei Tutt, who help provide valuable assistance in many dimensions. And they're all skillfully guided by our department manager, Mary Mangum. If all these, whoever's here, stand up, and I'd like to have a round of applause for all of this group. Vinny? So they're a fantastic team, and it takes a lot of work to make all these good things happen. So congratulations to everyone. We're going to have a reception upstairs, kind of, if you could jump through the ceiling, you'd be there. So you're going to have to go out and go up the stairs to our to Foster Library for one of the last events we'll have there before a major renovation this summer. Up there will also be gifts that will be distributed for the graduates, and hopefully Bob Schiller's going to come by and make an appearance as well. Should be a very nice event. So let's have one more round of applause for all of the graduates. And congratulations as well to all of those of you who helped support them through it all. And we'll see you all upstairs. Thank you.